the Grey Hat Beard podcast. Hello and welcome to show 53 of Grey Hat Beard Princess, the modern workplace podcast where we talk about all things Microsoft 365. I'm the Grey of Grey Hat Beard Princess. My name's Kevin McDonnell. I'm the Head of Practice for Modern Workplace at CPS and Office Apps and Services MVP. We don't have a hat or a beard today, but we do have our princess.
Yeah, so this is the princess. Hi, my name is Liz. I'm a Power Platform developer and Microsoft 365 consultant based in Germany. I'm MVP for Office Apps and Services and happy to have Wictor today as a guest.
Thank you. So I'm Wictor, work for Microsoft in our Microsoft People System as product leader. And Microsoft People System is where we work everything around your profile, your contacts, your relationships, etc. So it's a fairly new team, but super excited to join that and hopefully release some really personal, I would say, features going forward.
Oh, so I was just about to say, when I know you can't give away too much stuff, but when you say relationships, that's only work ones, presumably.
Yes and no.
Good. We're not going to have an MS Tinder come out or anything like
that. No. So,
okay.
But relationships within, you have your insights and related people and people-related documents, etc. But no, I'm not just working with M365 enterprise accounts. We are covering Microsoft accounts, Xbox, etc. as well.
Oh, nice.
But wouldn't it be nice if we could just like swipe left and swipe right for just like chats, emails, task lists?
Yeah, like, absolutely. Tinder for business.
Just like, no, I don't cool. Like this. And then you just like swipe left, and only if you like something or agree with it, then you swipe right.
Absolutely.
Think about it.
You could have Clippy built into Tinder. Would you like some help with that? You know, this could be a lot of fun.
Well, no, I don't need help with it.
And yes, we are recording now. So.
Oh, okay. So, am I supposed to behave now? Just let me know, okay?
Yeah, ish.
Kinda. Okay.
I would like to say thank you to Nick, one of my colleagues, who sent me a message going, "Hey, that princess is quite sweary, isn't she?" Which did make me laugh a lot. So.
So that is very British. I would say that princess is quite sweary.
Yes.
I will need to get this framed, okay? Okay.
While we are talking about messages from people, I'd like to send a big thank you to Nate Chamberlain, who sent out tweets saying how much he enjoyed Grey Hat Beard Princess and encouraging others to listen. So thank you very much. If others would like to tweet about how much they love Grey Hat Beard Princess, we are not going to be sad and would be very thankful as well. So
yeah, we're just like totally thankful. So do whatever you like, peeps, and just like tweet the hell out of it, and then I will keep on swearing, okay? Apparently,
not too much. I'll have to go around bleeping. Yeah.
Babe. Okay.
So yeah, same format. We're going to be in part one talking about a few of the recent news stories that have come out in the last couple of weeks. Then part two, which will be out next week, Wictor will be talking to us about the journey of Yo Teams, which I'm very much looking forward to. And I know Gary is a little bit sad to miss this one, but well, if you will let life get in the way, what can we say?
You can listen to the recording, right?
Absolutely.
He can listen to the recording. Exactly. So, and I think this will be an episode that a lot of people do not want to miss. So, pretty excited to have you here again.
Definitely. So let's get through the news. Now, the first bit of news, I will admit I am a little nervous about, because I think this could be a long old discussion. No, we have a Grey Hat Beard Princess chat group, and we were talking a bit about that, and yeah, it went on there, and I think it will carry on here. But this is an update, came out on the 17th of March around Power Automate, and we have, where's it gone? There it is. There is a new thing about changing the owner of a Cloudflow. Now, you may think, what a fantastic article. Now it makes it easier to change the owner of an account to an individual or a service account. And if the flow uses a service account, it's considered as a department or organization flow and will need a per flow license. So what this is saying as far as we can tell, is that if you don't want things to run as an individual, then you shouldn't be running that in Power Automate.
So, of course, I have opinions on that because I always do. And so, first thing is, although this article was updated just like a couple of days ago, that is not new. So, we have an FAQ about licensing. And this was lastly updated in October 2021 regarding that part. And also, the licensing guide states this just like since ever, that Power Automate per user license is for the unique and very individual needs of users. And if I run something that is a mission critical business process that is not the individual need of, I don't know, Peter or Anna or Victor or Kevin, it is an organizational flow. And if I can just like, or if I could just like choose my license, say, yeah, but the per flow license is more expensive, so I would just like stick with the per user license because that is cheaper for me. That does not make any sense. So I can't choose. And of course, you could argue, yeah, but how would they know? And I don't need to name the service account, aka fake user, like service account 1. I don't need to do this. I can give it a proper name, but still, it is not applying to the licensing guide. So you would be cheating with that. So it is not you. You would be cheating. We know that Power Automate, if this runs in a per-user license, this is for end-user productivity. It is not intended to be just like for organizational stuff. But if you still think that you need to do this, then Microsoft makes it expensive because the per flow license, it is $100 per flow, but you at least need to buy 5 of them. So it's at least $500 per month. Then you can run 5 organizational flows with that, but mostly it doesn't stop there.
And that's per flow. So it's 100 per flow, but you need at least.
It is 100 per flow. And then if you, I don't know, somehow need to separate your flows and have just like a lot of child flows because they are then easier to debug, or they just like, it increases performance, or whatever reason you have, that you could end up very, very soon with a larger amount of flows, and that of course increases your bill. And of course, then some customers might think, yeah, maybe Power Automate is not the right tool to use then. Yeah, congratulations on this epiphany, because most of the time it is not the right tool because it is for end user productivity. And Microsoft already made sure that, yeah, we have this seeded license in M365, which means every tool that is seeded in M365 and is intended to be used for end users, yes, we can just like drag and drop and almost low code we can just like do things, and it's pretty convenient, and I do not need to learn how PowerShell script works, which can pretty much do the very same thing, but I do not need to learn a lot of syntax to get started. But as soon as we really want to accomplish things, as soon as I want to call an API and there's no standard connector, then I'm pretty sure this is not end user productivity anymore. And then we need to pay a license. And that should be just like a warning sign. Hey, I'm abusing a tool right now. And there's a long history of abusing tools. Like we abused email for task management as well. So this is not about.
So I'm going to take a flip side, because I'm sure many people listening going, whoa, what do you mean? I've got all my stuff running with an account called Developer that's been processing the years, and Microsoft never mentions this to me. So I'm going to take that flip side, and I'll be honest, I hadn't taken on board exactly what you're saying, quite how much this is, and I knew Flow was intended for end users, but I don't feel it's made obvious to a lot of people, especially the fact that you can share your flows with a group of people within there. So that could be all your IT team, and you could run your flows there. And the fact that you can have things triggered on a document going into an area, that's not just for one user. If you've got a document going to SharePoint, that's for a lot of people, and things like that. I don't feel this is obvious to people at all.
Oh, well, so before we ask Wictor about his opinion on that, just like one thought. So we are pretty much aware when to use OneDrive and when to use SharePoint, right? And Power Automate relates to OneDrive. It's my stuff, and yes, occasionally I can share stuff with other people as well. But if I need to share an entire folder or just like folder structures across the entire organization, and not just like with a very, very small team and my colleague that just like that works on my behalf, then I'm most probably doing this wrong. And most probably then a SharePoint site or a dedicated page at least or a dedicated library would work better for a gazillion of reasons. And we do understand this for OneDrive and SharePoint. And we do also understand this for To-Do and Planner, for instance.
Just to be clear to anyone listening, what you're saying is that OneDrive is your personal, SharePoint is for everyone. That's what we're saying with this, that the Power Automate flows are the equivalent of OneDrive. They're for you, they're for a few of you to share things. When it goes wider, then you either go for the per flow license or you look at something else, such
or
as
you can
Logic
just like
apps
replace this with Logic apps if you want to stay just like in the same designer experience and get a bunch of nice features on top of that. Or you could replace this with Agile functions, which work pretty much the same way as well. So you have a bunch of options there. Wictor, what do you think?
Yeah. I absolutely sort of Logic apps is where I would go if I want to create that kind of business critical system because you have a lot of other monitoring as well. But yeah, I totally understand the confusion since it's so easy to get started, and many of these kind of things, just as we did with notes, databases, with access functions, with Excel sheets, etc. It starts with some power user doing something that eventually becomes mission critical. But there's a couple of caveats when you mention sort of the comparison with OneDrive versus SharePoint. The problem is that you have Power Automate in SharePoint. Assume that you're building out the syntax flow, right? And using SharePoint syntax to do that. And someone goes in there to build up all your contracts and stuff. And they're doing it as an individual, but not as on behalf of an individual. So it becomes very complex, and those syntax setups can be way more than 5 different kind of flows, right? To actually do that. So
totally agreed, and very, very good point. But so as I do not, of course, want to turn this into a dramatic reading of the licensing guide, but there is a beautiful paragraph in the licensing guide, and it goes like this.
Which everyone has read. Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. So it tells us that Power Automate is to foster culture where automation becomes just like a normality. So this is kind of the gateway drug to get people into automating stuff. That does not mean that this is a good choice for just like every kind of scenario. And almost always, and this is why consultants are just like needed everywhere, the answer is it depends. And I know it's just like I have a swear jar for that. I need to just like put stuff in. It's very true.
It's overflowing.
Yes, so this is why and it's quite heavy because so every time I say this, a coin needs to go in there. So the answer is always it depends, but we can just like lean towards something, and almost always we know if we have a bunch of tools, we should choose from a bunch of tools and not say just like there's one thing that is just like good for every job, because clearly it's not. And it's this is quite obvious as well.
Absolutely. But also, Luis, when you compare the normal flows and
it's obvious.
Go ahead first.
I don't think it's obvious to a lot of people out there, and I think that's something that Microsoft could do better to make it more obvious. I think they've gradually got that message about what Excel should be used for, about what Access is used for. People still do it, but there's enough known within the IT world to kind of say to end users, you shouldn't be doing for this. I don't think Power Automate has made it obvious that people shouldn't be doing this, and I think it'd be good to improve that a bit. Sorry, Wictor.
Yeah.
No. I was thinking sort of when you go from an end user flow to a license flow, what's the difference in restrictions there? For an end user, you have a number of flows per month and those kind of things. You have I think it's a minimum interval time of 5 seconds or something like that. But for an enterprise flow, you're not limited in the same way, right?
Yeah.
So that there are differences. It's not just the same flow. There's other things behind that license. There
are other things that impact that. So of course it's the API rate limits, and of course we have just like a bunch of different connectors which are then not seeded anymore, and of course the ability to connect to on-prem systems just like via gateway, or even just like creating my own connector and just like making a wrapper if there is none. And this, of course, is a great thing. But if we always watch like, yeah, but if I cross that, then I need to pay for this. And therefore, I'm not doing this. And therefore, I'm just like using something else to just to work around the license. It becomes tedious in some way.
Yes.
And I always I can't use a proper database for my application because then I need to pay a license for it. Yeah, if your app is not worth more, or it does not offer more value than €5 a month per user, then you should not be building it on any kind of database. No, you should not be building apps that do not offer at least just like €5 in value in return. You should not be doing that. But if it offers more than €5, then you can choose Dataverse because you get the license for that. It is. I always compare. So what does it cost and what does it bring? And if it costs less than it brings, then I would pay for the license.
If it's 5 per person, if you've got a 30,000 strong organization and people might use that once a month or maybe once every 6 months, then you've got a much harder conversation and things like that. So I hear what you say, and I am intentionally taking the opposite view to kind of keep things interesting as well. But I think it's not as simple as that. We've got people building very useful apps, such as room bookings ones, which may not get used much, that suddenly you're asking an organization to pay hundreds of thousands potentially for a year, which you can't justify. You suddenly need to completely change your strategy towards getting that. And I know there's ways into, you talked about the gateway drugs, and they've got the new I forgot what it's called, not on-demand licensing, but the
pay-as-you-go. Pay-as-you-go license. Yeah.
License, things like that, which I think help make it so that you know that only people who've used it within that month bring the cost of it within it. So I think Microsoft, certainly over the last 2 to 3 years, have really improved that kind of journey into the Dataverse and journey into the wider things. But it's a big investment within there, and I feel they've really improved in that kind of journey that things would take from a kind of an idea to let's get a bit of POC moving to let's make this productionized. I feel that the fact that this has been hidden in a paragraph in the licensing model, this has been put on that kind of post on there, I don't think this is hammered home to people. And
so what would you recommend? Which is why
we are here to kind of try and get that message out to people.
Yeah. So what would you recommend then the product team do with this? Should they analyze the usage of it and do recommendation to you? So sort of recommend, here's something you should upgrade to per flow license because we see the usage pattern of it, or this is something you actually should move to a Logic app and help with that transition.
Yeah, because there's no route to Logic apps really, and I think they used to be, but it's kind of disappeared a little bit more. There should be a nice route through for that.
So there's a couple of things that the product teams, and this is plural on purpose, should do, because right now everything is just like pretty much fragmented. And if this is not on my score, I will probably not care about this. So at least this is my experience working with different product groups, and not calling out anyone in specific. It's just like this, just like overall experience. You're nodding and smiling, Wictor. So it might be that you had this experience as well. But what they should be doing is, of course, analyzing, providing recommendations like in the Edge report, like at recommendations what to do as well. So this is a pretty neat thing, but also making it just like very clear what is covered in this license. So it can't be that I need I don't know how many pages these are, but that I need 50 pages to understand licensing. That people need to. They're just like consultants just for licensing. So so this is insane, and this makes sure that no one understands this. And if they don't understand it, they won't buy it. So if they made it easier to understand, just like, hey, you want to run something as a background process, choose either this or that. Just like choose a logic app, and this comes with several benefits, or choose the per flow license, and this comes with these benefits, but just like make it clear what to use when. So this is a very old question what to use when, but they are not very good in answering that. Mm-hmm. And of course, renaming everything all the time and then repackaging the things all the time does not help with that either. And then, of course, if they can't just like agree on one standard, which means that I can't export the flow and just like get the JSON to just like import that into Logic app, so that is then easy to transition for me. But now I need to build
and there's
my
a Logic app underneath it. You know, there should be a way to click a button and make it a Logic app. It's there, so it should be. Another example, that blog. Sorry,
it's fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say that blog we were just showing there about change owner. I could change that to a service account. There's nothing on there that says, by the way, if this is being used to automate kind of continuous processes to a service account, this would not be a good license on there, and probably would be better to name it better than that. But there's nothing on there that says you shouldn't do that. I haven't seen anything that Power Automate that talks about that not using service accounts and things on there. I don't even know what a definition of a service account is either. So
well, a service account is a fake user. So back in the days, we used to assign licenses to a machine and say, hey, this machine has now just like the right to use Office 2010 or something like that, and we equipped a license and assigned this to a certain machine. And now we don't do this anymore. We assign licenses to people. And now out of a sudden, I have a Jane Doe account, and this Jane Doe account does several things, although no woman like Jane Doe exists in my organization, but I just like pretend. And of course, we all know that using and abusing service accounts, not only in Power Automate, comes with a whole lot of, it's a gazillion of struggles that I now need to face, because I'm again abusing something. But we always did it like that before. We always had fake here's a service account just like for whatever, but they are massively overprivileged because just in case I have no overview who is using them. What about secret rotations? Just like, so this is causing me headaches already. And I'm sorry for ranting again. Yeah, the princess is quite sweary again. But this is just like, this is a big problem. And if people were more educated, and if Microsoft would provide more guidance on how can we make sure that we stop using service accounts where they are not needed, and do we have better options than faking that there is a user running in the background, because there is no Jane Doe, that would be very, very helpful.
It truly sounds like you have a new session for the next conference.
Must be. No, I already gave this. But stop using service accounts. It's this needs to stop, because we're not doing us a good favor, not in terms of security, not in terms of accountability, not in terms of overview, not in terms of governance. So there are just like so many complications, and it feels like, hey, this is the easy way, but everything, so it is quick and dirty, but the dirty stays. So the dirty part of quick and dirty always stays.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
call to action for consultants out there and IT teams. Make sure you know this. Look at what you're doing. For consultants out there, make sure you're telling your clients, make sure you're telling people about this. Make sure that the awareness are there. For IT teams who are listening, have a look at that. Have a look at those service accounts you're using. Go and speak to your consultants, speak to other people, find out more about what the alternatives are for that. I would say one as a positive, Microsoft aren't hunting people down. This isn't something they're going to be, I was about to say doing an Oracle, but that would be rude to say things like that. but they're not going to suddenly catch you out and go, oh, you're using the service account. Here's a bill for the last 3 years that you've been using that. But now is the time to start preparing yourself, start thinking about moving some of those things that you've got running as service accounts. And I know there are people out doing that. Now is the time to start having a think about it as well. Right. Let's move on to more positive, I hope, Microsoft news on there, because there's been a bit of a birthday. It's been 5 years since Microsoft Teams has been live, which has been fantastic. Now we know in the current climate, and we're not going to go into any political or world events going on, but Microsoft has decided not to be publicizing things quite so much, which is why you may not have heard about the 5 years quite as much as you would have done recently. But they have shared some really cool news, and there was a great post on how Teams and Microsoft 365 is going to meet the hybrid expectations, because everyone's going back to the office, except me, I hope, within there, and people going back to using there. So the word hybrid is going to be around for a good while yet, and I think Microsoft's continuing to do about that. But they're making some nice changes. And for those watching on screen, one of my favorites that I heard a little bit about recently, and I'm glad it's coming out, I think they said second quarter of 2022, is the ability that when you apply to a meeting to say whether you're going to be there in person or there virtually. And I think that's fantastic, because we know that hybrid meetings be for everyone, but being able to know where your balance of those meetings, how many people are going to be there in person, making sure you book a room that's large enough, or maybe you can move to a smaller room, etc., making sure you've got enough equipment. And when I say equipment, I mean important things like biscuits and things like that for the meeting. All the
now we're talking.
On there. So it's a very small, simple change, but it's ones like this that I love, that considering what people are doing, that Microsoft does so well on that. So I think that's a nice changing. There's lots in this article about the new devices and the Teams rooms and the front row that's we talked about a bit, the new nice AI powered Surface Hub 2 smart camera, $800, but we've been nice about Microsoft. Now I'm moving on from there. I think the other ones, and I don't know if either of you have tried this out. I keep meaning to get onto the insider preview and give it a go, but the new Cameo for PowerPoint, so that ability to embed your videos in different parts within your presentations, I think will be fantastic. I love the fact within Teams you can kind of do that overlay of your face on some of the presentations, but I know that some of our slides kind of go down in different places and you want to move it around, and it'll allow you to do that and record that. And I think it'll be, for those who don't have their Camtasia licenses on there, actually a really powerful tool to be able to get more interactive presentations going, which
you should be able to do that right now when you're sharing, and choose if you want to have that overlay in your Teams application.
Yes, so you can do that live in Teams now. This is about doing it within PowerPoint, and you can also then put it into different areas. So for those who can see on the screen, you could be like the full right hand pane, could be your video, or it could be a little box in the corner. It can be in different areas. So I think you're right. You can already do that in Teams. You can do I always call it the weather forecast move, and you can kind of point to different things on the map on there. It's like, no, hang on, this side, as you go around, which is entertaining to people for a few minutes. But I think that'll be very nice. Lots of lovely news like Operator Connect, and the ones I think we touched a little bit on this last week, but the shared channels, which I think will be a real game changer, and that's coming out end of March. So hopefully any time soon, by the time we record the next show, should be able to have tried it out in public preview, which is good.
It's the thing that all my customers are super excited about, because everyone hates switching tenants, because it's distracting. And even if you do those tricks, just like having different profiles and pinning them and installing the PWA app, so it's tedious, and everyone is looking forward to that. So this is a great thing. I love it.
It'll be a good change. Looking forward to that, definitely. Some Loop components in Outlook. Now, I'll be honest, I read this article a couple of times and completely missed this one. And as Mr. Viva was a little bit embarrassed about it, but the Viva Insights app has got this new inspiration library, which is bringing to people those extra kind of articles from Harvard Business Review. I think it was Thrive, and ones from Microsoft as well. I can see there one from Ariana Huffington. So kind of nice well-being news, culture news, all sort of different bit of news and articles and content to read in there, which yeah, I think it's nice. We've talked on the show a lot about the Microsoft.com/work lab, some of the great articles that have come through from there, and surfacing more of those I think will be really good. I didn't see it. It said the Viva Insights app. I'm assuming that's going to be the standard app and it's not part of the premium license. I know it talks about premium content. I haven't seen that confirmed anywhere, so I'm hoping it's coming to the standards one you get with your M365 license. But
well, I guess not. So
you think it's premium, do you?
Make it so if they say premium content, there is a reason for that word, because this is all just like very, very carefully designed. So making an uneducated guess, this would be, I don't think that all of that is just like happening in your license included, but still looking forward to that, because it is a nice way to educate yourself on well-being while, as they say, staying in the flow of your work, just like everything included in Teams. So that is that's a really good thing. And yes, good things cost money, so you always get what you pay for. And luckily my customers don't have just like a big issue with just like paying licenses if they feel there is a value in it. I can feel there is a lot of value in recognizing that if your employees aren't healthy, aren't feeling good, that their productivity will of course decrease. And also it's just like a nicer human touch if you care. So and of course this increases your effectivity as an employer as well. So I think it's a good move.
Absolutely. No, I think it'd be good.
Can we talk about the important thing in this article? If you scroll down just like a little bit, I mean emojis.
I'm trying not to talk about these because I'm not a fan, if I'm honest. I'm a fan of emojis. The new Teams ones. My problem is Paul Bullock described, I don't know if you know, but in the BBC in the UK has a kids channel called CBeebies, and a lot of the emojis look like the pictures from that. So all I can see is just hours of my kids glued to things like Bluey and all the other kids' TV for hours. And it's the second he said that, it's really put me off. I like emojis. I might just be a grumpy old man about these ones. I don't know. I'll wait and see. They are growing on me, I will admit that. But
okay, Wictor, what about you?
No, I think emojis.
I
like emojis. I like them because they're fresh, right? They're new. It feels a little bit different, and I like if things move all the time and new things happen. So, and I actually like these, and you will see it. You also have the skin tone selector and all those kind of things, right? For inclusivity, and they are very carefully thought through. Hopefully we can. They're right now in Teams only. I think they're delayed in Windows 10 or 11, etc. But hopefully we'll see that soon as well.
I'm with these things. I'm very happy to say I'm wrong. When Twitter first came out, I tried it for a bit, and I was like, "This is like a small version of Facebook. I don't see the point of this." I was entirely wrong about that, and I look forward to being wrong about these and loving them soon. But I'm mixed at the moment.
It's a great gift that you made yourself, just like admitting that you were wrong, and then just like recognizing to just like move on a different path. I always find this a very humbling experience when I know, you're just like being completely wrong. So now it's just like time to change this and proceed on another path.
I'm just going to pick up on we talked about some of those articles. I mentioned the Work Lab. This new article up on Work Lab because and Microsoft's got their latest work trend index for the year. So for those who love numbers to throw in their presentations, there's some lovely numbers through this and different things. I think 5 trends. Employees have a new worth it equation. So is it worth coming to the office? Is it worth sticking with jobs? People considering what matters to them is interesting. Managers feel wedged between leadership and employee expectations. I don't think that's anything new. Maybe managers are starting to listen to employees occasionally, which is always good. Leaders need to make the office worth a commute. Absolutely agree with this. I think it's making sure there's a reason to come to the office. I'm hearing more and more people saying, why on earth am I going to the office to spend all day in Teams calls when I can do that at home and wear my pajamas below the waist? Why have I got to make that travel and time on there or nothing within there? So I think that's absolutely true. And it's interesting when you've had these conversations with people and you realize that, yeah, it's not just the people around you, it's happening there. Flexible work doesn't have to mean always on. I kind of agree on this. I think you have to work to make sure it doesn't. You shouldn't just assume that things will switch off. I had a go at one of my colleagues and pointed out that in Outlook, you can do send later to when people are working on a Monday. So you don't get 6 emails from him on a Sunday night when you're trying not to think about going back to work. Just stop distracting people in the evening for things like that. So absolutely agree. It doesn't have to mean always on. And if it means always on for you, at least don't enforce that on other people. So
I have opinions
about that as well.
I have opinions on that. So
just we start on that. We had Elmo. We had an Elmo for enough move on. You need to find something for I have an opinions. This could be the new.
So this is my dear friend Elmo, and Elmo stands for enough. Let's move on. So I introduced that to all of my customers because it's a great tool, and I found an excuse to deduct this little fella here from Texas. So that's cool as well. No, so I have opinions on that. So considering that we all work just like very global and that everyone has a different life. So perhaps, I don't know, perhaps you like to get your kids from kindergarten or from school in the early afternoon. And perhaps I'm a night owl and love to work at night because then I find just like the calm or the section or whatever to finish my task. And perhaps Wictor is just like a super early bird and loves to work in the morning or perhaps in the week.
No.
It was just an example, right? So we're all different and we work perhaps in different time zones. And so if I have something to send out, I will send it out. And I think that is then your responsibility to make sure that you maintain your mental health. And if this means deinstalling Outlook in the weekends from your phone or go on D&D or whatever it takes for you to make sure that you reach a level of comfort. And we have just like a bunch of just like tools and features to make sure that you can feel comfortable. But yeah, we are different. That this is your responsibility. But I can't know of just like a gazillion of people that I do work with, how do they handle their lives, and in which phase are their kids, and how do they approach work, and what do they want to do for breakfast? I don't know this, so I think it is just like this delaying a message. So maybe this feels now good for me, but most probably this will hit somehow differently at the other hand. So
I 100% agree on that. I don't use the send later because many cases when I send something, it is to a group of people that stretches from India to Europe to North America, right? So who will I choose? So I'd rather I want to receive email between a feature that says I only receive email between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. for instance. But that's the same. I could, of course, turning it off and those kind of things. But that's how I usually operate, and my patterns for working at home almost since like we got Teams 5 years ago. That's when I started working from home, more or less. Is that I have my time in the morning between 8 and 8:30. That's scheduled in my calendar. That's when I look at email. Then occasionally I look at. Yes, I have it on my phone, but I typically don't do anything unless it's something urgent, you forgot your compliance, whatever, right? Those kind of things. Otherwise, it's in the morning between 8 and 8:30. And how am I supposed to, for everybody else to know about that? But to that same thing, when I do chat with someone in Teams, I typically look at their people card and see what time zone they're in, if they're online or busy and those kind of things. So I might wait an hour or two or put a reminder in my to-do. Yeah, go back and talk to Jeremy when he wakes up and those kind of things. So that's how I remind myself. So
Yeah.
I do it both ways, right? But the send email later, I'm not a fan of that personally, because I want, as you said, Louise, it's up to you, right, when you want to receive it. And sometimes I like working in the evening because I'm in the flow then, and I can, or I'm out. Today was beautiful weather outside, so I could go out for a couple hours, but stay and work late, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think and I'm probably swung here. I've worked for multinationals, but worked for a very UK based company, mostly with UK clients. So we're kind of mostly I know if I'm working in the evening, the mails I'll send to people will be other people in the same time zone. So, but I think it's a really valid point. The only thing I would say is that there's a lot of things where if you're emailing people who work for you, they are going to get influenced by when you work, and they'll feel, oh, I should be working this time as well. So I agree, Louise, you should have the confidence. If your manager's doing it, sways it a little bit. So maybe considering that a bit more to
I agree on that one as well, Kevin. Yeah. So I actually told my manager a couple of years ago, he always sent out his weekly email on Sunday evening. We were all working at the same time, so then I told him you should send it Monday morning instead, because you're making all your other employees just stressed about that they need to look on and have it read by Monday morning when they get into the office, right? So it's some of those psychological facts, but that you of course should take into account when you do all this, not just firing emails away back and forth all the time, specifically if you're in a managed position or sending out this broad email and those kind of things.
Yeah, and then yet again, I think it's a very, very good idea to talk with the people that you work with about expectations on what do you expect when I send you an email. Should you reply just like what, in a minute or in an hour or within a day or in a week? Or do we have just like some kind of SLA? And is email or even a Teams message, is this really just like our emergency alert system? Or do we have just like different processes for that? And do we, again, abuse tools for what they are not made for? So I know there's urgent messages in Teams and just like a lot of stuff, but I think just like a Teams message or an email is not very, very urgent. So if it's urgent, please call me.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
unless it's Sunday evening, please don't. Yeah.
So if I was in a position, just like with my customers, that something could be urgent on a Sunday evening and I needed to react, then of course I had a contract with them securing that, and of course that I wanted them to reach me that way. I don't do any urgent stuff. I do important stuff, but it's not urgent, so it does not matter if this is just like if I work on something Monday morning or Monday noon or even on Thursday, then it doesn't really matter. Of course I have deadlines, but not everything is an emergency. And
if you say it's urgent, say why. Don't just say urgent, please call me. Oh, it's the most infuriating thing in the world. It's like, I've got to finish this line for this report. That's your problem, not mine, Charlie, if you're listening. But yes, try and say why things are urgent. Anyway, let's move on. I'm gonna not spend too long. There was a really interesting kind of dev side of things that's come out around SharePoint framework and the not about SharePoint framework, around list formatting. So list formatting, great way for power users who are comfortable, fairly powerful power users who are comfortable with JSON, and that's JSON, not Jason Bourne or anything like that. That you can actually customize the command bar now, which is fantastic. I really like this because it feels like there's more and more things that are appearing on the command bar in SharePoint, more and more items there, which are all very useful. But we've had a few clients who just don't want people to do things. They don't want people to have that personal productivity with Power Automate for whatever reason. Don't get started, Louise, please. We'll run out of time. But it means now you have that capability to change that with your list formatting from there as well, which I think is again another small change that could be very powerful, and you control that list of, you can see all the different options of what you have. So if you want people not to be able to edit in grid view or etc., you can take things off that, which is very good, and you can then build those. Sorry, Victor.
Yeah, to be honest, I think this is one of the most powerful things that happened to SharePoint in a very long time. And then I'm actually including SharePoint Framework. SharePoint Framework, of course, offers a lot of things, but this simplicity with some JSON configuration, essentially, which you can copy paste right from almost wherever, to create some amazing experience for your customers without writing a single line of code. It's fairly complex, and it's essentially but essentially only Chris Kent who can manage this properly. But it's extremely.
It's warrior horse stuff. I can see just like a whole new series of cool demos in PMP courses, like just for that. So I'm pretty much looking forward to that.
But it's extremely powerful for usability and creating your version of a SharePoint list and how you want to manage it, etc. With essentially a few lines of the JavaScript object notation, right?
Yeah, really nice.
And the bad thing is that it contains JS and JavaScript because it's not, you're not writing JavaScript. And the thing, as I said, go to GitHub. There's so many really good examples that you can copy paste, and then fairly easy. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand how to modify it, change a color and those kind of things. It's actually really, really good and powerful.
Yeah. So you can just like figure it out. So it will work in the end. I've been there. So I'm a typical copy paste developer. So I can't with that. And so we have fantastic resources, and I'm pretty sure we will put them into the show notes as well.
Absolutely. And I think that the last thing that I love is it feels like it's that kind of move towards being able to customize SharePoint, but within a controlled, allowed way again. You know, we've gone from that on-premise where you could customize everything because it would be 3 years before everything broke, to moving to online where things move at a high one, and we've had people try and inject style sheets. Now we're getting so much more of that functionality to be able to do those things in a safe, supportive way.
So this feels safe, and you can't really break stuff, which is cool as well. And it does not get buggy.
We won't promise that entirely.
Well, so of course, yes, you can break stuff, but not in a very, very bad way. You can just like say, okay, so I will remove this again, and then just like hit save again, and then it will just like perhaps not look very special anymore, but it will work. And still it's super powerful, but it does not slow down everything. And this is what most probably people who come just like from the old days and working on prem and then highly over customizing everything are just like a little bit afraid of, because this is something that we do not want to have anymore. Making it slow and buggy and not intuitive to use, but ugly then. Yeah,
absolutely. Last bit of news, I'm not going to show this up, but put it in the show notes. Great news. I've been talking about Microsoft Search for the last 18 months, 2 years, and finally we're getting Microsoft Search in Windows 10. So very, very exciting news, being able to sort of get all your content in one place. Can't remember if you put that file in your drive, in online, etc. Now it would be right there inside the preview. And I think even better is that they're doing this, the Windows 10 release preview, so it'd be coming to that as well as 11. So it's not something you have to jump to 11 for as well. So thank you, Microsoft, for getting that to us. Very excited. Not just you, Victor, the rest of Microsoft as well.
No, Victor is doing all of that on his own. It's just like
yes.
It is only Victor doing that. So whenever something is just like really cool, we would just like thank Victor, and if it's not so cool, we would just like blame Microsoft. Will this work for you?
Yes, that works. That works.
Okay.
So I'm going to run through a few events. Hopefully you're hearing this in time. Oops, one step ahead there. Because 23rd of March is Teams Nation. So many great speakers speaking that event. So many people involved. I'm one of the proxy moderators. I think Louise, you're speaking as well at Teams Nation, aren't you? I know Al's helping run the track. Do keep an eye. They've got an after party going on in Alt VR, and I keep hearing bits and pieces about this. There's going to be fireworks, and I mean, not literal fireworks. They're going to be virtual ones, but there will be fireworks. They spend a lot of time. Christian and Zaid have been doing some great stuff with this, so make sure you join. You don't need a headset, so you can join on your PC or your Mac. and they'll be sending out details of that. So stick around for the Allspace VR with after the closing keynotes. Should be a lot of fun and chance to chat to people as well. We have the Microsoft 365 conference. I kind of keep feeling that it's for those in the US, but I'm sure there's people from outside the US going over. I'm definitely starting to think for next year if it's going. Hopefully it continues. I'd love to go over to the US for the conference, and well, it feels like maybe some of the Microsoft ones aren't happening. These are, and it's got lots of the big names. So yeah, keep an eye out for this, and at very least keep an eye on the hashtag, because I don't know this. I'm not disclosing anything at all, but big names like that, big conference, could hear some announcements start to creep out before some of the other conference seasons. So could be some interesting things come out of that potentially. Always worth keeping an eye on as well. We have European Power Platform Conference happening at the same time. I noticed Charles Lamanna's at that, isn't he, Louise? Or I can't see his face on there. Maybe he's not.
Yeah. I think he will be there. But maybe they did not choose to just like put his face on this thingy.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking he's going to be. No, he's at the Microsoft 365.
No. So if he's in Vegas, he can't be in Berlin at the very same time. So this is happening in the same week. So maybe he won't be there. But we have a bunch of very, very cool speakers. So if you're into Power Platform or just like related stuff, so this is a very cool event, and it's happening in Berlin. So I will be there.
Should be another good one for that. We also have just after that in May, the Microsoft 365 Virtual Marathon, which is just incredible, the number of speakers they get with that, and a lot of first-time speakers as well, and just number of tracks. And I've just seen they've got, I know they've had a lot of languages, but this year they've got English, French, German, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, and Spanish sessions going on, which is really fantastic to see that diversity that they're pushing through in that one event as well. Then leading into June, we've got two big conferences over in the UK, the Scottish Summit, which will be fantastic. Really looking forward to this, and looking forward to that photo getting updated after that as well. So I've been chatting with the organising team and some of the things they're trying to get organised for that. But yes, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure there'll be some whiskey at some point coming through.
No. I mean, it's Scotland, so why would we drink whiskey over there? It does not make any sense at all. And I do not have, so I can't confirm nor deny any just like events that may or may not have happened with drinking whiskey in Glasgow at the last in-person. No.
Yeah, that does sound dangerous. I'm a little bit nervous about that.
But I love this picture, just like all good friends and just like troublemakers in the front row. So this is cool.
They look so innocent there as well. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, well.
Not true. And then finally we have Commsverse, which is happening. I know they've sent out to a lot of the speakers. I don't think they've announced the full lineup yet. I think they're waiting to let the people who've accepted. Oh no, they have. No, it looks like they've got some of the names up on there. So we've got some really good names. Are you coming over for that, Louise?
Yes, I will.
Fantastic. I will see you there. I'm helping out at one of the rooms with that, so it should be a very good event. Oh, Christian Buckley's there. Oh, that is exciting. So, and I know there's a lot more international speakers this year. They've kind of made a thing of getting more people over, so should be
it will be really great. It will be totally Teams focused. So for everyone who just like loves and lives and breathes and develops on Teams, this will be a very, very cool event. So hoping to just like see a bunch of Teams geeks over there as well. So
absolutely.
This will be great, and of course, fantastic venue. And I have a session as well, and I think we even have a panel discussion, right?
Oh, nice. Oh,
yes, and and I will be speaking about Teams context-aware Power Apps, so that they just like have the context that they are just like displayed in. So I hope this will be nice. So we still need to make the slides though.
You got weeks for that.
Yes, but you know how this is. Just like, so you submit a session and then the session gets selected. They go, oh, I need to create a session.
They've selected the one I haven't done. This isn't fair. Yeah. I know.
Wictor, what about you? So when do you prepare the session? So after you got selected or before, or just like a week before the event?
That's typically a week before the event.
Okay.
No, but I usually have an idea when I send something in. This is something I can do. But as you know, sometimes it's 3, 4, 5, 6 months until that conference happens. And the topic I've been talking about up until fairly recently, at least, things moved around all the time. So if I did a demo today and it's going to show that in June, I had to redo it anyways. And I want to bring all the latest and greatest in, except, but yeah, that's true. For when we met in Germany just before Christmas for the Collab Summit, that session I handed in like 2 years ago because due to the pandemic. But I still use the same title and same abstract, but the demo was completely different. And the good thing was I could actually build what I envisioned I could build 2 years ago. I hoped they would release some of those APIs, but I could make it even better. So that's how I roll. And I actually built that demo a couple of times just to verify that I could do something like that. But in the end, it turned out really good. And it's probably the most advanced demo I ever built because I was so excited about finally going to present it at the conference again.
Session?
Was building intelligent Teams applications. So I used Teams calling interfaces and cognitive services and analyzed the audio and video and all those kind of things in real time. So yeah, it was super fun.
Teams
There's a
better.
copy of that. I tried that a couple of years ago and it was very, very painful. So it sounds like things have got better. But let's wrap up part 1. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for adding your thoughts on the news there, Wictor. And we'll be back next week to talk about the journey of Yo Teams. So thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye-bye.